What are the best home-based business ideas? Well, you've come to the right place because I've got great home-based business ideas for you that are going to knock your socks off. So the first thing to think about is, what is your goal here? Is your goal to pick up a couple $100s a week? That's one thing. Or is your goal to really have a business that can completely change your life? For me, I think you should look at something that has the potential to be a business that changes your whole life, rather than just playing a small game where you're looking to make a couple $100s a week. I think that's pointless. I think if you're going to do that, I think you should just get a car, go drive for Uber or Lyft or something like that. Very simple. You don't have to do any marketing. You just need a car. Go do that. But if you want a real business, I think you should look at real businesses, and specifically at real businesses that people actually teach. And I'll give you an example. So I have a business called Overages that I do and I teach. And I'll tell you about that business and how I think that's a model for you to do a home-based business, whether it's my business or some other business. So Overages is a business where we help people that have lost a property in foreclosure get back a large amount of money. And because we bring them a large amount of money, we get paid a large amount of money in exchange. And in life and in business, one of the lessons I want you to learn is that you get paid based on how much value you bring. For example, if I have a brain surgeon that works on me for 3 or 4 hours, that guy could easily make 6 figures for doing that. $100,000 or more, no problem. Why? Because he brought such immense value to me. He may have saved my life. He may help me still hear or see again or hear again. And because he's provided such immense value to me, he gets paid a lot of money. Very simple. The amount of value that you bring equals the amount of money that you make. So if you just bring small value, like for example, you're driving Uber and you drive someone across town from here to there. You've brought them value. Yes, you've brought them from here to there, but you didn't save their life. You didn't change their life. You just provided them that convenience that frankly they could have done other ways. They could have walked, they could have gotten a bicycle, they could have called a friend, they could do all kinds of things. So that's not unique and it's not an enormous amount of value. So whatever you're looking to do, think about it and how much value you bring to the other person. You know, how important is it to them to get their problem solved? Because if their problem is very important to them and it's a big impact, you can get paid a lot of money to do that, and you get appreciation at the end. You know, people don't resent the doctor that charged $250,000 for the brain operation. They're thanking him if he saved their life. They bring him a gift. So don't think of it as a negative if you're charging a lot. Think of it as a positive, because the more value that bring to the world, the more money you're going to make. So you look for things in business where you can bring a lot of value. One way you can bring value is leverage. Just for example, there are people that make a ton of money with contracting companies. Now, why do they do that? Because they bring in the plumber, the electrician, the carpenter, all the people that are highly skilled. They bring them in, they do a great job, and they get a beautiful result in the end. And someone else doesn't have to go through all the hiring and supervising and figuring out if a person is doing it correctly. So because they coordinate a lot of people, they then make a lot of money. And so you can make a lot of money through a coordination of effort where you get a lot of people working for you. For example, when I was young, I had a franchise with an outfit called College Pro Painters. And they taught me how to have a business. They taught me how to price the work. They taught me how to run a business. They taught me how to do advertising and get customers. Really terrific outfit. And I had 13 people working for me all summer. I had 13 college kids working, which was its own great experience. But also, I made a couple dollars for every hour everybody else worked. So when I had 13 people out working, if I was making $3 for every hour they were working, well, that's $39 an hour that I'm working, no matter what I'm doing at that particular moment. I don't have to be clambering up and down a ladder. And you do that day after day and you can make a lot of money. So think about things where you can bring a lot of value, either because what you do is super valuable or because you're leveraging the efforts of a lot of people and organizing them. And also, when you're thinking about a business, don't think of anything that diminishes your ability to have and own a business. There's a way of thinking that some people have, are like, well, who do you think you're so big to be able to do that? If you come from a poor background, it's very possible that's some of the thinking that's in your brain. Push that thinking out of your head. Regular, ordinary people become phenomenally successful business owners all the time. And you can be one of them. And typically the difference between the people that become phenomenally successful and the people that don't is the ones that become phenomenally successful get out there and do it. The other people rule themselves out of the game because, mark my words, the biggest obstacle in your life is you. It is not some government agency. It's not some government policy. It's not wage disparity between men and women. It's not differences between racial groups. It's not gays versus straights or straights versus gays. It's not that at all. It is you. It is inside this little 4 inches between your two brains. That's the thing that holds you back the most, and that is the key to your success. And that, my friend, is really good news because it means that you have a lot of control over what happens in your life. Do bad things happen to good people? Sure, absolutely, all the time. But over the long term, what you do, the decisions you make, and how you spend your time are going to control the quality of your life. And your quality of your thinking is going to drive that. So let me get back to talking about overages, which might just be the thing that you'll be doing that's going to make your fortune because you're going to be bringing a lot of value to people because you're going to bring a lot of money to people and you get paid really well for that. So here's how it works. When a property sells at a tax auction, meaning they didn't pay their real estate taxes, or a mortgage foreclosure auction, then when the property sells for more than the amount of money that's owed, meaning more than the debt, then that extra money is available for the former homeowner to claim. And it's very common that these properties sell for more than the debt. For example, in taxes, usually you're 3 to 4 years behind in real estate taxes before they sell your house. That's probably going to add to between 10 to 15% of the overall value of the property. And so that's where the bidding is going to start. So if you had a $400,000 house, which is kind of average in America, it's probably got a tax bill of $40,000 to $50,000, somewhere in that range. And let's say it was $50,000. Well, a $400,000 house at the tax sale auction is probably selling for a minimum of $300,000. Because if a bidder says, oh, I can get this $400,000 house for $300,000, they're thrilled to get that deal. Well, if the house sells for $300,000, but you only owe $50,000, that means there's $250,000 left over. That's the difference between the $300,000 they collected at the auction and the $50,000 in taxes that is due. That money is available to be claimed by the former owner. But here's the catch. Former owners almost never claim it. Matter of fact, according to the government's own statistics, 72% of the time the money goes unclaimed. And because of that, that money just sits there available for the former owners to claim, but they don't. So it just stays with the government. And in most states, eventually it forfeits to the government if they don't pick up the money quickly enough. Typically, people have about 3 years to claim the money. If they don't do that, then the money is gone. It sprouts little wings and flies away. That's the end of it. So the problem is people don't know. And what you do in this business is we get the lists of those monies that are being held. We track down the people that are owed the money. We reach out to them, send them a letter, give them a phone call, send them a message through social media, let them know there's some money they're eligible to claim, and see if they want to work with us to claim the money. And if they do, we go and we get the money in exchange for a percentage of the money that we get. And let's face it, if you brought someone $250,000 that they didn't know about and otherwise wouldn't have gotten, wouldn't you expect to get a pretty nice payday out of that? Of course you would. Would you get a nice payday? You bet your bottom dollar you would get a nice payday. All you have to do is ask, because you brought someone $250,000 they otherwise wouldn't have gotten. I think in that case, you should be charging $50,000 for that work. You get them $250, for you to charge $50 is not unreasonable at all. And the amount of work, 8 to 10 hours, not that much work. Now, when you're thinking about this, again, think about making money in terms of value that's brought. If you brought someone $250,000 they never otherwise would have gotten, it's very reasonable to charge them $50,000 for that. That's my opinion. You can have the opinion you want, but certainly you're not going to be making $100 out of it. You should be making tens of thousands, in my opinion, $50,000 or more. So that's the business. And these claims are all over the place. We have an internal database that we maintain of claims for our business, and we don't cover the whole country. We cover a lot of it, but not all of it. That database right now is over $350 million worth of claims sitting there waiting, over 14,000 individual claims that we could work on at any given time. And we're not going to get to even a tiny percentage of that, not even a fraction, because it's way too big for us to handle. Because on top of all that, every single day, they hold new tax sales and new money comes into the system. So it's impossible to keep up with it, which is wonderful news because it means that for me, I can teach the business because I have way more business than I need anyway. So I make some money teaching. I'm happy doing that. I love teaching people this skill. And I love taking people that are willing to make some effort to be successful in life. So if you are willing to make the effort, I'm willing to teach you this business and help you to be successful. So your next step is go over to the video that you see linked in the bottom of your screen. It's my introduction to Overages business video. Go check out that video and I'll dive deeper into Overages with you and show you what the next step is if you actually want me to teach you this business and learn it. As I said, I have an education business where I teach people the business. I teach all the details so that you can be successful in Overages too. And I want to stress to you, you do not need a law degree like I have. I'm a lawyer, I've been a real estate lawyer since 1995. You do not need that. I've got the legal stuff covered. I will give you all that information. So you don't need that. What you do need is a willingness to learn, the open-mindedness to give something a try, and the real desire for success. Because as in all businesses, there will be setbacks, there will be times when it's tough, but for those who persevere, the awards are amazing. You can have a business that can either support you really nicely as a little side business, or it can be a full-time business like my business is for me. My Overages business is absolutely fantastic, and I think you'll love it too if you get into it. And together we can help people who otherwise are kicked to the curb. They have no money, they have no friends, they have no house. They need our help, and you can help me help them. So click on the link down below. That'll take you to the intro to the Overages business video. I'll dive deeper in this with you, and I'll show you why this makes complete sense, and it's something that may be exactly what you're looking for as your home-based business. So Attorney Bob Diamond, click on the link, and I'll see you at the intro to the Overages business video.